My husband got my sister pregnant while I was pregnant. Then I found out he planned to run away abroad with another woman. Hey, everyone. I've been lurking on this sub for a while and reading so many posts where people share their lives and actually get solid advice. I never thought I'd be the one posting here, but here we are. Fair warning, this is going to be long, and honestly, it's a mess. So buckle up. For some context, I'm 32F, and I've been married to my soon-to-be ex-husband, Ethan 35M, for a little over 5 years. I'm an entrepreneur and run my own small business where I sell handmade soaps and candles. I started it from nothing, and it's something I'm incredibly proud of. I poured years of my life into building it, often at the expense of everything else. My life felt stable and good, until about 3 months ago, when everything completely fell apart. That's when I found out that my husband had been cheating on me with my younger sister. Yeah, my sister. I'll get into all of that later, but at the time, I was absolutely destroyed. What I didn't realize then was that this betrayal was just the beginning of a much bigger nightmare. Before I get there, I need to give some background. I'm the oldest of 3 siblings. My youngest sister, Olivia 22F, was born almost a decade after me. She was a surprise baby, and honestly, she felt like a miracle to our family. The moment I saw her, I was obsessed. I already had a younger brother, but I always wanted a sister, and when Olivia came along, I immediately took on this protective, almost maternal role. I fed her, bathed her, babysat her constantly, and spent whatever little money I had on her. She was my entire world. I even begged my dad to buy me a digital camera so I could take pictures of her and make scrapbooks. I wanted to capture everything. I would have done anything to keep her happy. As she grew up, that never really changed. Once I started earning some money, I spoiled her with toys, books, clothes, anything she wanted. I picked her up from school almost every day. Our weekends were spent watching TV shows together, eating junk food, and wandering around bookstores for hours. Those memories are still some of the happiest moments of my life. Even back then, it was obvious that she loved me just as much as I loved her. Our bond felt unbreakable. Things shifted when I moved away for college. I went out of state, and even though I came home whenever I could, it was mostly during longer breaks. I miss my family a lot, especially Olivia. I hated knowing I was missing such a big part of her childhood. At the same time, I was thriving. For the first time, I was living away from my parents, experiencing real independence. I did all the stereotypical college stuff, including going away to many parties. It was at one of those parties that I met Ethan. He was the DJ that night, and I remember thinking he was the coolest guy I'd ever seen. Tattoos, shoulder-length hair, confident energy. We talked all night, exchanged numbers, and ended up partying together until morning. I later found out he was actually a student at my college too, just a couple of years ahead of me. We started texting constantly and hanging out. I fell for him hard. He was charming, funny, easy to talk to, and undeniably attractive. Looking back now, there were red flags. He could be pushy and kind of arrogant at times, but I was young and completely blinded by how into him I was. When you're in love at that age, you ignore a lot of things that later come back to haunt you. Not long after, we officially started dating. After he graduated, we moved in together. We got a tiny apartment near my campus, so I could get to classes easily. Money was tight. Ethan landed an entry-level job at a tech company, and I worked part-time at a small bistro while studying. We were scraping by, barely covering rent and bills, but I remember being genuinely happy. It felt like we were building something together. He helped me constantly. He'd make me breakfast, stay up late with me while I studied, even pull all-nighters before my exams despite having work the next morning. At the time, I thought I'd found the perfect partner. He made me feel loved in a way I hadn't experienced before. Whenever we went out, he proudly introduced me as the love of his life. At his work events, he'd show me off to his coworkers, talk about me endlessly, sometimes to the point where it felt overwhelming. He seemed completely devoted. The first time he met my family was the weekend I graduated. They'd heard all about him before, but that was the first time they met him in person. By then, we were serious, even sharing a joint bank account. My family adored him. My dad is not an easy man to impress and had disliked every guy I dated before Ethan. Somehow, Ethan won him over. My parents weren't thrilled that I'd moved in with him without telling them beforehand, but once they saw how he treated me, they let it go. That weekend was also the first time Olivia came to visit me at college. She was just about to turn 14. She loved everything about the experience, meeting my friends, walking around campus, and spending time with us. She also clearly liked Ethan. At the time, I thought it was just an innocent crush. She'd get shy and awkward around him, but I brushed it off as harmless. By the end of that weekend, Ethan had completely charmed my entire family. I felt relieved because I genuinely believed he was the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with. After I graduated, I got a job at the same company Ethan worked at, which felt perfect. We spent nearly all our time together. About a year later, After nearly 4 years of dating, he proposed. It was elaborate and thoughtful, and I was over the moon. Of course, I said yes. When we got back home, I walked into a surprise engagement celebration. Our closest friends were there, along with my parents and siblings. Ethan had even flown my family in without telling me. I felt incredibly loved. We got married less than a year later. It was a beautiful wedding. Olivia was my maid of honor. Over time, we upgraded to a bigger apartment, adopted a cat, and continued building our lives. My business started to take off, and Ethan got promoted at work. From the outside, everything looked perfect. We even started talking seriously about starting a family. At least that's what I thought. Around that time, things with Olivia started going downhill fast. Her best friend, someone who was basically another sister to her, passed away suddenly. It was completely unexpected and absolutely shattered her. When I heard what happened, I immediately went back home to be there for her. What I walked into was heartbreaking. She barely spoke. She barely ate. She stayed locked in her room most of the time, staring at the walls. We all tried to give her space, assuming she just needed time to grieve, but weeks turned into months and nothing improved. She stopped going to school regularly and began failing most of her classes. I was deeply worried. She was still so young and dealing with something no teenager should have to face alone. I suggested therapy almost immediately, but my parents insisted that we should just give her more time. Eventually, she started leaving her room and talking a bit more, but I could tell something was deeply wrong. The bright, happy girl I grew up with felt completely gone. Things only got worse. My mom started calling me, telling me that Olivia had started hanging out with older kids. Boys who drank, did drugs, and partied constantly. She even caught Olivia smoking. I was in complete shock. This behavior was so far from who she used to be. That Christmas, Ethan and I went back home to visit, and the change in her was impossible to ignore. The way she dressed, the way she talked, her attitude, everything was different. She was rude, hostile, and constantly snapping at everyone. It felt like I was living with a stranger. I tried talking to her privately. We used to tell each other everything, but this time, no matter how gently I approached her, she shut me out completely. She told me I could never understand her pain and that she just wanted to be left alone. When I brought up therapy again, things exploded. She screamed that she wasn't crazy and didn't need help. Harsh words were exchanged on both sides, and the argument escalated until Ethan stepped in and managed to calm her down. Eventually, she said she was at her friend's house to cool off. She never came home that night. By evening, I was already panicking. I was about to start calling all her friends when we got a call from her boyfriend at the time. He was several years older than her, which already made my stomach turn. He told us Olivia had overdosed on pills. I don't think I'll ever forget that moment. My heart dropped into my stomach. We rushed her to the hospital, and thankfully, they were able to revive her. Later, we found out that she'd been using drugs ever since her friend passed away, trying to numb the pain. We promised ourselves that we'd never let something like that happen again. We put her in therapy and tried to be more involved. I was traumatized, but also relieved that she was finally getting help. A few months later, I got another call. She had overdosed again. She survived, somehow, but this time we had no choice but to send her to rehab. That became the pattern for years. She'd stay clean for a while, get out, and then relapse all over again. Watching her destroy herself was unbearable. She was young, intelligent, and had so much potential. Yet no matter what we did, she kept falling back into the same cycle. The harder we tried to help her, the more she pushed us away. Eventually, after countless failed attempts, I broke. I hate admitting this because it makes me sound like a terrible sister, but I reached my limit. I couldn't keep pouring everything I had into someone who didn't want to be saved. During all of this, Ethan was my support system. He acted as the middleman between Olivia and me, calming things down when tensions ran high. He listened to me, reassured me, and helped me brainstorm ways to help her. He was patient, understanding, and never made me feel like I was overreacting. I leaned on him heavily. I threw myself back into work, and not long after, we started trying for a baby. We tried for over a year with no success. Eventually, I was diagnosed with PCOS, which made getting pregnant more difficult. At first, I stayed hopeful, but as time passed, the disappointment started crushing me. I wanted to be a mother more than anything, and failing again and again took a serious toll on my mental health. My work started suffering. I couldn't focus. Eventually, I quit because I felt completely drained. I felt like I had failed as a woman at the most basic thing my body was supposed to do. Ethan was struggling too, but he never blamed me. He never pressured me or made me feel inadequate. I tried applying for other jobs, but nothing worked out. And without realizing it, I was about to enter the darkest period of my life. That's when I decided to build something of my own. I had always loved handmade soaps. Years earlier, because I struggled with acne, I started making my own and learned a lot about ingredients and formulations along the way. What began as a personal project slowly turned into something more. I started selling my soaps to a few neighbors and close friends. To my surprise, they loved them. Soon, they were placing regular orders every month. One of my friends helped me set up a small website, and before I knew it, I was shipping orders across the country. Then one of my friend's daughters posted a short TikTok about my soaps. That single video changed everything. My orders exploded overnight, and for the first time in a long time, I was actually making a profit. More importantly, I finally felt like myself again. I stopped obsessing over getting pregnant and started enjoying what it felt like to build something from the ground up. Around the same time, Ethan seemed happier too. He told me he'd gotten promoted at work and had started traveling more often for business. He was gone a lot, but he seemed upbeat, motivated, and proud of where we were headed. For the first time in years, it felt like things were finally falling into place. That illusion lasted until about 2 months ago. Ethan was away on one of his work trips, and I was feeling lonely. I decided to visit my parents and try, once again, to reconnect with Olivia. I knew things had been strained for a while, but I still hoped we could fix them. When I got there, my parents told me Olivia had moved out and was staying with a friend. On impulse, I decided to surprise her. They gave me the address, and I drove over without calling ahead. I was not prepared for what I saw. When the door opened, Ethan was standing there, half-dressed. Olivia was right behind him. The look on their faces said everything. For a moment, I couldn't even process what I was looking at. They both started talking at once, claiming he was just visiting and that he'd been working nearby. None of it made sense, and I didn't believe a single word. I felt completely disconnected from reality. Out of everything I could have imagined, my husband cheating on me with my little sister was never one of them. And then it got worse. In my shock, I hadn't even noticed that Olivia was pregnant. She looked about 4 or 5 months along. The realization hit me all at once. I felt sick. I threw up and nearly collapsed. Things escalated so quickly that the neighbors called an ambulance. I was taken to the ER, barely able to speak or think. I felt numb, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. At the hospital, they ran tests on me, and then they dropped another bomb. I was pregnant too, about 2 months along. I honestly laughed at the absurdity of it later, but in that moment, it felt like some kind of sick joke. I had tried for years to get pregnant with no success, and the day I found out my husband was cheating on me with my sister and had gotten her pregnant, I found out I was pregnant as well. My parents arrived shortly after, and when I told them what had happened, they were just as stunned as I was. Eventually, Ethan and Olivia showed up. Instead of apologizing or explaining, Ethan walked up to me and calmly told me he didn't love me anymore. He said he loved Olivia and planned on marrying her. I threw up again. Olivia admitted they had been together for over a year. Ethan claimed he'd been planning to divorce me, but never found the right time. He accused me of being emotionally unavailable and said our marriage hadn't fulfilled his needs for years. According to him, it started as a friendship and slowly turned into something more. Olivia said she knew it was wrong. But once Ethan promised he'd leave me, she decided to continue the relationship and give him what he always wanted. A baby. I felt like I was losing my mind. Up until days before this, Ethan kissed me goodbye at the airport and told me he loved me. He never once hinted that anything was wrong. I was completely blindsided. There was too much happening for my brain to keep up, but one thing was clear. I wanted nothing to do with either of them ever again. When I told Ethan that I was pregnant, he seemed shocked, but it didn't change his mind. He still chose Olivia. In that moment, something inside me completely broke. One detail that made everything even harder to stomach was the fact that Ethan had known Olivia since she was 12. That realization added a whole new layer of disgust to an already horrifying situation. Because my pregnancy was classified as high risk, my doctor strongly advised me to stay with my parents for a while. All I had ever wanted was to become a mother, yet I had never felt more miserable carrying a child than I did during those weeks. Word spread quickly. Most of our friends and extended family cut Ethan and Olivia off entirely. People were horrified by what they had done. Instead, they rallied around me, focusing on the baby. Gifts started coming in, things like clothes, toys, and even a stroller. And not once did either of them call me to apologize. The only time Ethan reached out was to ask me for something outrageous. He had the nerve to call and demand that I buy baby items for his child with Olivia. According to him, the family had unfairly isolated them and was overdoing it for me. He said their baby deserved the same treatment. I genuinely thought I had misheard him. These people had destroyed my life, and he was asking me to fund theirs. After that call, Ethan completely shut me out. He stopped responding altogether. Over the next few weeks, I tried repeatedly to contact him just to figure out how to move forward, but he ignored every attempt. Around that time, my parents told me Olivia had been insisting she had a boyfriend who loved her and treated her well. Whenever they asked to meet him, she'd come up with excuses. They had no idea it was Ethan. Somehow, he had convinced my emotionally fragile sister that I was the problem, that he wasn't in the wrong. That hurt more than anything else. Her betrayal cut deeper than his. After about 2 weeks of silence, I decided to involve lawyers and move forward with a divorce. But just before I did, I received an anonymous email claiming they had important information about Ethan. At first, I assumed it was a prank. Still, curiosity got the better of me. I replied. They sent back another email with a link to a folder. What I found inside made my stomach drop. There were screenshots of messages, bank statements, and recorded conversations. According to the information, Ethan had lost his job over 2 years earlier. He had borrowed large sums of money from multiple lenders and was drowning in debt. He had stopped paying them back and was actively avoiding them. Then it got worse. The folder revealed he had another girlfriend overseas, someone who had offered him a place to stay. The messages showed that he'd been planning this escape for months. He had secretly bought plane tickets, obtained a work permit, and was planning to leave within weeks, abandoning everything behind to dodge his debts and start over. With her, he had promised to marry her. He never once mentioned that he was already married. There were bank transfers, visa paperwork, even flight confirmations. Ethan had convinced Olivia that he loved her and planned to build a future with her, all while fully intending to disappear and leave her alone with the baby. I was done. There was no way he was going to destroy our lives and walk away without consequences. I printed everything and sealed it in an envelope. After speaking with my parents, I contacted my lawyers and handed everything over. It took time, objections, and excuses, but they eventually managed to track Ethan down and arrange a meeting. He brought Olivia with him. The moment he saw me, he launched into a speech about how he didn't love me anymore and how I needed to stop leeching off him. I laughed and handed him the envelope. I told him it contained everything he'd ever need. As he flipped through the documents, the color drained from his face. I turned to Olivia and told her everything. About the debts, the lies, the plans to leave her behind. I showed her proof. Ethan tried to claim I was framing him out of jealousy. He stumbled over excuses, but the evidence was undeniable. My lawyer stepped in, and that's when I served him the divorce papers. He looked like he was about to pass out. He backtracked, apologized, and suddenly claimed it was all a misunderstanding. When he realized Olivia wasn't buying it anymore, his tone completely changed. He was advised to get his own legal counsel immediately. My lawyers later informed me that Ethan wouldn't be leaving anytime soon. The work permit he'd obtained hadn't been secured legally. For once, things were catching up to him. The divorce proceedings are about to begin. Ethan is facing questioning regarding his visa situation, and Olivia is completely devastated by the realization that she'd been lied to. My parents are stuck in the middle, trying to hold everything together. And me? I feel conflicted. Part of me feels guilty for feeling even a little bit smug. Another part of me feels like this is simply karma. He ruined my life. Is it wrong to feel like he's finally getting what he deserves? Everything is still uncertain, and nothing has been finalized. I don't even know if I handled this the right way. Should I have done things differently? Update 1. Hey, everyone. Wow, it's been a while. I honestly didn't expect this post to get as much attention as it did, and I've been reading through a lot of the comments. I have quite a bit to address. First, I want to clear something up because I've seen this brought up repeatedly. Ethan had known Olivia since she was 12 years old. A literal child. Yes, their affair technically started when she was an adult, barely. And while that may make it legal, it does not make it any less disturbing or predatory. She was a child to me. The fact that Ethan could even look at her that way makes my skin crawl. I'm saying this because I've seen some people, mostly men, in the comments defending him and claiming Olivia was equally at fault. I'm not saying she isn't responsible for her actions. She is, but she has also been struggling for years. Mental health issues, addiction, instability. She was in an extremely vulnerable place, and Ethan knew that. He also knew she had looked up to him and admired him for a long time. He could have cheated on me with anyone. Instead, he chose her because she was easy to manipulate. Both of them did horrible things, but Ethan is a truly vile person for exploiting everyone involved. A lot of people have also been asking about his girlfriend overseas. I won't share too many details for privacy reasons, but they had been talking for over 2 years. She had absolutely no idea about me, my pregnancy, or Olivia. Ethan told her he was single. He even started sending her money every month. He promised he'd work abroad for a while, marry her, and eventually bring her to the US. Every single bit of it was a lie. I haven't spoken to her directly, but my lawyers have been in contact with her, and she now knows everything. As for Olivia, I haven't spoken to her either. The last time we talked, she accused me of ruining her life. She told me that if I truly loved her, I should have let everything go and left Ethan alone. I reminded her that Ethan didn't love her and was actively planning to abandon her with a baby and disappear. She still sees me as the villain. What's ironic is that I'm the one who should be furious, yet somehow I'm the one being blamed. I feel like I can't win. I still love her despite everything she's done, but the way she's behaving now makes me feel like it might be better if she wasn't in my life at all. I know that sounds harsh. At this point, I don't really care. As for Ethan, because he only possessed the illegal work permit and wasn't actively using it overseas, he technically didn't break the law. Apparently, it only becomes illegal if he's caught using it. So legally, nothing can be done on that front. He walked away from that one. Regarding the divorce, his lawyers attempted to paint me in the worst possible light and even demanded shares of my company. That was shut down immediately. My business is solely in my name, and he has zero claim to it. My lawyers have confirmed that I don't owe him anything. He will be required to pay child support once my baby is born. The amount hasn't been finalized yet, but I will have full custody. Ethan tried to claim that he wanted to be involved and be a father, but that completely backfired when his plans to run away came to light. That's all I know for now. We have a court hearing coming up in a few days. I'll update when I know more. Update 2. Hey everyone, just a quick update. I'm doing okay. I'm 4 months along now and still considered high risk due to gestational diabetes, but thankfully, the baby is doing well. That's really all that matters to me right now. I never imagined I'd be navigating pregnancy like this, but I'm incredibly grateful to my parents for standing by me through everything. Every time I see the ultrasound pictures, I get overwhelmed with excitement. I know my child won't be born into a perfect family, but I'm going to do everything in my power to be there for them. As for Olivia, I believe she's around 7 months pregnant at this point, but that's about all I know. I'd appreciate it if you kept me in your thoughts and prayers. Update 3. Hey guys, sorry I've been MIA for so long. This update is long overdue. I have some good news. I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She was born a bit early and had to spend a few days in the NICU, which was terrifying, but she's been discharged and is doing amazing now. I had emergency C-section and recovery hasn't been easy, but I'm getting there. It was stressful, exhausting, and emotional, but I'm just grateful it's behind me. There's more good news. My divorce has officially been finalized. It was messy and draining, but I had an incredible legal team who made sure everything was handled properly and that all my demands were met. Like I mentioned before, Ethan tried to paint me as the villain. He accused me of trapping him with a baby so I could get child support after he left. Thankfully, no one bought that story. I was granted full custody of my daughter. Ethan and I are not civil. He tried everything he could to reduce the amount of child support he has to pay, but he failed. He's also required to repay all the money he borrowed. How he plans on doing that is not my concern anymore. The last I heard, he was trying to find a job. He hasn't met his daughter and didn't even bother showing up to the NICU. Honestly, I dodged a bullet. My daughter deserves better than a man like that in her life. Olivia also gave birth to a baby girl a couple of months before I did. I haven't met either of them, and I don't plan to anytime soon. My parents are the only connection between us now, and they're still trying to push reconciliation. Deep down, she's still my baby sister. I love her. I always will. But the betrayal, and especially how she acted afterward, is still very fresh. I know Ethan manipulated her and twisted things to make me look like the bad guy, but she knew me better than anyone. That's what hurts the most. I don't know what the future looks like from here. I'm just trying to rebuild my life one piece at a time. I know it'll take a long time to feel normal again, but I have to keep going for my daughter. From now on, my focus is on my business and my child. Before I go, I want to leave you with one thing. Ethan looked like the perfect partner. Everyone thought he adored me. He said all the right things, treated me well, and openly showed his love. No one who knew us would have believed he was capable of cheating. And yet, he did. For years. Without a single obvious sign. So please, choose your partners carefully. Be cautious. Sometimes, when things seem too good to be true, they probably are. Take care.